Right?
Yeah. A while ago, Mike wrote a blog post about how Korea was a center of professional development in ELT, but I think it might be Ukraine now. It could be the new one. All right. Okay. Well, let's get started because I guess we should get started on vaguely on time. Right. So So welcome to what's going on with you these days. If you haven't met me or Mike before, I don't really know what you're doing here. Me and Mike run
We're to see Zhenya.
We're here to see Zhenya. Yeah. Well, me and Mike run a small publishing company for like ELT books and things like that. And so we put together these month hangouts. We also run a session on the second Sunday of each month, most months, which is less of a hangout and more kind of a workshop, I suppose you'd say. So it's just a really nice opportunity to have a bunch of people together in the same place and talk about ELT. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little game called workshopping. You don't have to, well, you can kind of, it's no compulsory fun or anything like that. And then we're going to have our guest, Zhenya, is going to tell us what's been going on with you these days. And then we were going to break off into breakout rooms. And we'll have a discussion based on some questions Zhenya has brought. So, so I think that's everything I need to say. You can drop we always have a good chat box in these sessions. So do let us know how you're getting on. Let us know where you're phoning in from. Good to get to know a little bit about people here. Some new faces and some old faces. So that's a nice mix. All right. So I'm going to ask Mike to introduce a little game we'd like to call workshopping.
The explanation part is the most stressful part, more than the sharing of ideas and such, but I'll do my best. So this is something of a game. The rules are a little bit hazy, but because we are ELT workshop, we did start with workshopping. And each time we have some sort of certain topic, and we ask the guest to prepare 3 examples of this, and we do the same. So this week, our topic is things we'd like to see the ELT industry give up for Lent. Previous times it was some puns or our own resolutions. Tim said it was difficult to be sincere last time. So this time maybe it's a chance to think about the industry a little bit wider. Things we'd like to see the ELT industry give up for Lent. And I said it's a game, but the rules are hazy. Basically, we just share our ideas and comment on them. People are welcome to type in the chat box and critique our ideas, especially Tim's, and share your own ideas as well. With no further ado, Zhenya, if you don't mind to go first as the guest, what's something you'd like to see the industry give up for Lent?
That's an interesting thing. First of all, hello, everyone. And when I saw that topic, I was confused for just a little moment because I thought, wait, Lent and Easter, that's too early. And that's how I discovered that we have quite a difference this year in the calendars between Ukraine and Orthodox and Catholic and the world. So yeah, so for us, it's a thinking time till next month. So one of the things, and because I'm working in teacher training, I thought, what if just for a month or so, we teacher trainers forget about this question when somebody asks a question to us and want our opinion, why don't we stop saying, what do you think? And even though I understand how important it is to be participant-centered and to give the floor to the person and to coach a little bit and all of that, I think sometimes people may just need our opinion, and that's okay to share it. So that's something I may forget about doing for a month. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if I followed the rules. So.
You followed the rules, great. This is definitely a habit. this is a habit that I have as a trainer, and I think it's really interesting to consider some kind of letting go of that for further understandings. It's a really good one. Tim, would you go next?
Of course,
I'm hosting now, apparently.
Yeah, I'm like, what's the thing from Ghost in the Shell when the fingers turn into lots of little fingers and just yeah. So my first one was so something that really bugs me. It's like it's hard for me to be sincere, but it's really easy to talk about things that annoy me. So this one's fine for me actually. So my first one is using research to railroad teacher experiences, and this is something that happened to me in a training session by someone. I'm not going to say who it is, but by someone a lot of people really like and think is good. I'm not going to say who, but and I was kind of talking about, I give feedback in such and such a way, and I found for me personally that that's like the best way to give feedback. And this person said, actually the research says this is the best way to give feedback. And I felt very like, I was not much younger teacher, like much less experienced teacher, and I felt a little bit like railroaded, or just like, the research says your experience is wrong, so just give up on your own perceptions or your own experiences. So that's something I think we need to think about in the industry.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Tim. This next one is, for me, is one that I think we've kind of touched on in previous meetings here, but something I've noticed in the past year is that often we assume that online teaching, online education, online anything has to be synchronous. And so the thing I'd like to see the industry give up for Lent or longer is that assumption that it has to be synchronous. Maybe it could be asynchronous. Maybe it could be asynchronous. Maybe it could be a mix of those things. So just that kind of first assumption always kind of catches my attention and makes me think, okay, well, where is this coming from? What's the belief behind this? That kind of thing. So that's mine.
And I'm actively nodding because that's what I'm going to touch a little bit today in terms of what's going on with me, Zhenya. So my turn, right?
Spoiler alert. Yes. Okay, go.
Okay, so another one I was thinking for teachers, as a theory, as a possibility to give up attending events of professional development where certificates are awarded. I just, out of curiosity, that's like for a month or so, and I wonder where this could lead people. For example, to a session like ours right now. That's one example, or maybe to what the development hub with Teresa, is hosting. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of possibilities maybe there.
So you say don't attend ones where people give a certificate.
Yeah, attend where people don't offer a certificate.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I'll give a little inside baseball. But when I was organizing the Excite ELT conference, we had some discussion about should we offer a certificate. I was like, oh no, I want people to come for the experience. I don't want for them to come for the certificate. And I lost that argument because they just said, oh, well, some people need the certificate to get money to come to the thing, which I guess is fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I think people should come to get the experience or whatever instead of the knowledge or the connections. And yeah, I don't know and the other thing I always think, if I applied for a job and they say, oh, well, do you have a certificate to prove that you went to that conference at this time? And they didn't just take my word for it. I think that's a bit of a red flag about that job. So yeah. I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Zhenya says for a month, not longer than that. I was going to get more aggressive with it and say forget certificates altogether. But I understand that they do have their place, and like sort of organizationally, people need them, want them, expect them. Very, very reasonable suggestion, Zhenya.
Well, my next one is also kind of linked to that. It's about professional development and teaching. And I've just written down, stop ignoring professional development over the bare minimum. And I think in a lot of places where I've worked, care about, like, so in Korea, So, oh, you got your degree and your 120-hour certificate, which I don't even really think is the bare minimum. I think that's below the bare minimum, but whatever. But yeah, but then once you've got that, you're in, and like people don't tend to care too much how much above that you've done. And if you're doing like kind of continuing professional development instead of initial teacher training, I don't think people care that much. And I think that should change because, yeah, I think people should kind of value that. And yeah, and I think it's very frustrating as a teacher. You kind of sometimes you go to a conference and you come back with so much excitement and energy, and then it dissipates within 2 days because of just how little people in your workplace care about it. Like, I learned this, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I went to the pub this weekend. I want to talk about that instead." So yeah, that's my second one.
I guess it's back to me then. This is a little bit of something I've been complaining about and thinking about for about a year as well. And I don't know who to direct this to exactly, but I think online conferences should give up charging a bundle of money to attend them. I haven't figured out the exact percentages, but if you're charging the same for an online conference to a face-to-face conference, please stop. I see some thumbs up and some laughs. Okay. I wash your mouth out with soap and water. I'm saying bad things here. I know. But I understand. I've talked about it with a few people and they say, well, I want to support the organization so it's still around after this. To my mind, I think, okay, I respect that. I understand that. But it's tough to me to justify paying that. That's my rant.
Yeah. Well, no, I 100% agree. And I think a little more insight, but I think a lot of what people spend on conferences, like from an organizer's point of view, is flying people to a place and opening rooms for people. Attending conferences that charge on. So yes. Okay, Zhenya, I think it's back to you.
Back to me. Okay.
Yes.
I'm just weighing which one to choose, and possibly the one about course books, but this time it's kind of directed to, not giving up course books completely, but giving up the parts or the topics in the course book which are very much related to the pre-COVID experiences, like what was your weekend like if the country is on lockdown, for example, or let's talk about our traveling plans for the new year, which can be quite difficult. And maybe just anything about planning is a little bit of a difficult skill. So I don't know who this is for. It may be for teachers, but I think it's a question to schools, like to the people who make decisions in this respect, like don't force such lessons.
Yeah, I think that's...
Once again, my idea was much more aggressive. Totally give up course books.
Burn them all.
Extremist position. I think that's a very reasonable suggestion, Zhenya. And I think
like what type of organization are you here representing today? Okay.
I do think, though, to add on to Zhenya's point there, I think if teachers are expected to follow the course book step by step, these kind of issues are always going to happen, but maybe especially now. So, Tim, I think we're back to you, but maybe my Wi-Fi is freezing us up here.
Yeah, I did just start off. Oh my goodness. Am I here? Yeah, okay. So my next one was, I was going to say just give a big list of isms, but actually I think something about the idea that teaching can be apolitical, I'd like to talk about a little bit, because I think people often have this idea that, if you just don't mention things, you can have a very apolitical classroom. But I think personally that like if you choose not to mention something, that's also a choice. And people talk about a lot. Like there's LGBT people, and this group of people was well, actually that ends up being a political choice in itself. But people also don't talk about things like workplace disputes. Like people are usually very happy at their jobs in ELT course books and things like that, and often they often have the same thing. Oh yeah, having a job is great, and yeah, and I think even though you think, oh, well, I just won't mention the political issue, not mentioning the political issue is also a choice. So I think we should stop pretending that we can have apolitical classes at all and try and think what type of political classes we should have instead. Be a much more productive conversation. And that's my insufferably woke Tim section for today. So yes.
I think we can end the game there because I already gave my third one about course books. So congratulations, Zhenya, you won the game.
Oh, okay.
On whatever unclear criteria there was. Just as long as Tim didn't win, I'm happy. I know I didn't win, and I appreciated your ideas, and I think you gave us a lot to think about. So Tim, you can tell us what's next.
All right. So next up, we're going to ask Zhenya to present a little bit about what's going on with her these days. We do ask people to come, just come and bring some rough ideas, and that's fine. And I don't know, we have such wonderful guests that they always seem to just put loads of work in. We asked her a week ago, and she's like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it for the last week, and here's some ideas I had." And like, "Oh, we kind of expected you to put something together last night at midnight or something like that." So yeah, so really interested to hear what she has to say. I didn't introduce Zhenya. Zhenya's a teacher and a teacher trainer based in Ukraine, and also a really wonderful blogger who I've been reading her blog for a really long time, and I've described as your favorite blogger's favorite blogger in the email, which I think is probably about right. And I think, hopefully, if you've not read it yet, go and read it because it's really fantastic the moment you hang up. But I think a lot of people are here because they've read it because there's lots of new faces. So if you're here because of Zhenya, also come and follow us and stuff. Exchange. Anyway, Zhenya's going to talk about what's going on with her these days, and then we will. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, and we'll try and ask them at the end of her conversation, and then we'll jump straight into some breakout groups. So yes, Zhenya, why don't you take it away?
All right, thank you so much for inviting me for this warm presentation. I'm just so happy. And Tim, you mentioned you've been thinking about it for a week, and I think that's one of those intrinsic motivation examples when you just want to think about something because the question was so good. So so thank you for your warm words about the blog. It's funny how a little hobby may be actually read by people, and it's a little communication platform. And in the chat, I wanted to share a little link to a small write-up today, and it has a couple of pictures that can be especially interesting to people not from Ukraine. Anyway, and that's a choice just not to look at me for the whole time, but to look somewhere else. Anyway, my Twitter handle says Zhenya Dnipro, and I thought that's a nice way to get started. So Dnipro, as people from Ukraine know, is a city in Ukraine where I come from, and it's also the biggest river in our country, which if you look at Ukraine map, it kind of divides it into two parts. And I really needed some kind of structure for this session. Like I'm just this kind of person who needs structure. So I thought, okay, I'll think about something connected with rivers. And of course, that's the first thing that comes to mind are bridges, because every river has a lot of bridges, and the Dnipro, the city, has 5 of them, which you can see all in that link I shared. Just scroll to the pictures. So the bridge, and I'm again, like this kind of person, I look up words in the dictionary just to make sure I understand the meaning. And I was so excited to find out 2 meanings for the bridges. The first is it's a structure that carries the path or road across or over the obstacle. which I was like beautiful and fundamental. And the next was is a bit more metaphorical, which is a time, a place, or a means of connection or transition, which is just simply beautiful. And both of them are from Webster Dictionary Online. So a time, a place, a means of connection. And I thought that that's the one I need today, because I'm in the ELT industry, but I'm not teaching on Zoom as the whole world seems to be doing now. So I feel a little bit asynchronous in this respect, as Mike mentioned. So I thought maybe I can bridge that experience with the ELT reality and classroom, and hopefully future teaching situation, which will be post-COVID, I hope. And another thing I thought is maybe I can bridge the learner experience that I have had in the past year, especially in the past year, with how that links to being a teacher and a teacher trainer, and also how professional development events may sometimes prompt a format or form for what we do in the classroom. So to start with, the first one is teacher training asynchronously. To me, it started a long time before COVID. That was, I think I did International House certificate in online teaching sometime around 2006. It sounds ancient. And I started working on asynchronous courses of different kinds in 2009, and actually like did it on and off for the whole 10 years before. So it wasn't something new that hit in 2020. But I think the reality in which all the teachers appeared last year was quite different from all the years before, because I think the time that all of us are now spending near the computer, like live or dead or writing or talking, that's huge, like a lot of hours. So one of the things I started noticing this year is how working asynchronously, and in my case, it's mostly a lot of writing. So basically participants come from different countries, their internet connection varies, their schedules are very different, they are in different time zones. So the assignments are submitted in the written form, sometimes as voice recording, but mostly written form. Every week there are several discussion forums plus a couple of individually submitted assignments. So all in all, it's a lot of messages between the participants to the participants, summary messages every week and every midweek, and communication with trainers. So it's just a little bit of context. So this whole thing made me question, like, okay, if we are in this kind of environment where we don't necessarily, we don't meet with the people we're working with, is it still possible to create a kind of rapport? Is it still possible to be present in the course, to create this warm atmosphere, which I think all teachers and students really need, not only in 2020, but generally. So something I noticed, I paid attention to this year was making my writing sound warm. And that's an interesting thing. I don't have any specific tips for that yet, but I saw one of the sessions where one of the trainers mentioned that she tries to smile when she writes feedback in writing. Wow, that was really interesting, because if I'm trying to be efficient, and of course I am, because there is so much to do, so many lesson plans to comment on, I can be doing this with very serious face, and maybe my comments may come across a bit cold, automatic, I don't know. So that's what I started thinking about a little bit. Another thing is grading. Like each assignment in our course is graded with a score according to the specific rubrics, which is very clearly transparent, presented to the participants. And there is also a box for comments. And in the past, when I was pre-COVID times, I would be very quite brief in those comments, like, okay, here is the grade, well done, or here's what you need to work on, etc. Now, this time I noticed that, okay, how can we make more out of that little box? Like, how can this be more like a way to personalize what we are doing? For example, if somebody is like in need of improvement, we of course talk about how things need to be fixed and what kind of criteria are a little bit weaker. But then possibly we also need to talk a bit about the content of what the person said, no matter how far it was from the assignment. And I think that kind of realization, it may be obvious, and I'm sorry if it's really obvious, but that was a big aha for me this year. And another thing, again, connected with grading was that sometimes if the person is submitting a wonderful assignment, I used to want to just say, well done, congratulations, this is excellent, and go to help those who need some help with other criteria and all of that. But I realize now that that person just needs more detail on why it was excellent, and again, like responding to the content of what was said. So that's how I think my comments became a bit more personalized this year. And something okay, that's a bridge to a different point about being a learner. So even before COVID, I tried to join different courses myself as a student, as a learner on a variety of platforms. Quick examples could be Coursera, FutureLearn, could be Udemy, edX, what else? Something else, ITDI, a lot of platforms. And some of these courses are completely asynchronous, so self-access courses, or they can be with a facilitator, and sometimes they have a combo format. And this year I started to pay attention, okay, with this time online that I spent like in front of a screen and without any exciting training trips, how is my attitude changing as a student, as a learner? And I noticed that I can easily start a course and never finish it. It's like a big confession. I realized that I wouldn't necessarily want a perfect grade for each and every task in something that okay, I got the point, fine, next one. I realized that if it's a live meeting, I'm not necessarily super comfortable to have my camera on all the time. And that's what we could see now people are doing. And that's, I think, is wonderful, because being on camera means that you're sitting again, like yet another hour in your life and all of that. And also I kind of got very demanding to the need to have live meetings in general. Like, why do you want everybody there in the room staring at the camera? What's the reason? Could there be like, if it's warm communication interaction, wonderful, understand it. If it's sharing another bunch of points, maybe an email. Anyway, so that's I think how it's a shift I notice in how I'm learning online. And another one is my favorite because it's about professional development events, and Mike kind of touched it, the point about the conference fees, and that's not necessarily been the best solution for to attract a lot of people. Another thing is that sometimes you don't need a huge event to actually share a point or to meet fantastic people. Again, like an example is today that we're in this wonderful cozy company and we're talking about what's important. And I realized that I can easily learn from events that are not non-ELT kind of events. Quick examples would be like a coaching conference in Ukraine that I attended online in June last year, and a little practicum. It's called practicum, but I'm not sure I can define a better word. It's a Telegram chat plus a webinar on a Saturday with a little task every morning given, and people have a choice to either do the task or not. It's non-ELT, and Irene, she's here, she prompted a different kind of event, which is called the 1 Minute Conference. I haven't attended yet, but I signed up for it tomorrow. It's on business, and that will be 10 speakers with everybody will present for a minute, for 60 seconds. I'm very curious and excited. Okay, we'll see what that is. I love the coffee shop ideas that people host, or like webinars which are interactive. So I think there is much more than this, like two extremes of either synchronous or asynchronous. If it's asynchronous, it's only writing. If it's on Zoom, it's just us sitting and talking or working in groups on a Google Doc. So I think there is a lot more there. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share. And the rest would be the wrap up with the metaphors, right? Like what kind of bridge is there? So there are bridges from what I'm doing now to the ELT of in the future of some sort. And there's also another meaning in the word bridge, thanks to dictionaries, which is a little room or platform at the front of a ship from which the ship is navigated, operated. And the captain joins that room only when there is a crisis. So I thought that's a kind of wonderful, because I think we can define what's going on as a kind of crisis. I mean, that would be an understatement. And I think having a little bit of control on what we're doing, how we develop professionally, that's a helpful strategy. Yeah, so that's it from me. I could share questions in the chat, or we can, I'm giving the floor to Mike and team.
Yeah, I think we have time for a question or two. If anyone wants to drop one in the chat, that was really good. Thank you, Zhenya. Sorry, I should, clap emojis. I wanted to ask you, do you think there's maybe, I've heard some people saying online that, maybe teachers are almost like too, I've just realized that zoomed out is a camera pun, and I've heard that phrase lots of times. But do you think there's a risk of teachers getting too zoomed out, like you've just Zoom fatigue, or did you feel pretty positive about like all these Zoom rooms and these meetups and all of these things that are going on? Am I still?
Is it a question to everybody, or?
Just for you, yeah. Although if anyone else wants to chime in, they can. That's.
I think it's quite tiring. I mean, as I said, I don't teach online, but we are considering like teacher training courses, and some of you are teacher trainers. You have been to a CELTA course, let's say, which is completely online. And I think my personal fear, like to join such a project, is that it's a lot of hours in front of the camera and in front of the computer in order to prepare for the session's day. And that turns into that at this point is something I can hardly imagine, just because of my lifestyle. And but I understand that as a kind of, what's the good word? Emergency teaching substitute for what a classroom used to be, or we imagined that's what's needed.
Okay. Has anyone else got any questions they'd like to drop in the chat, or we can move on? Okay. Matthew says, I've been sending more after realizing I was indeed doing live relation and was useful, trying to get away from all of that. So live time is strictly for active practice and performance feedback, etc. Yeah, I think it's similar to like maybe a flipped classroom kind of situation or something like that. So yes, and I was doing something similar, Matthew, when I was teaching. So so I think it can be really, I think that's a good way to approach it. So yeah, be confident. It is easy to feel guilty about that, and my bosses used to like to make me feel guilty about that. Like, you do feel like you're doing nothing sometimes. I used to send like an email, maybe send a video and send a bunch of activities, and then it's like lots of feedback. But they're like, when are you actually teaching? Well, all the time at the moment, but yes. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll divide up into little breakout rooms. We've got 4 rooms, 17 people, so it'll be rooms of 4. So if like we've got some discussion questions, I had them. So I'm freaking out because
you just posted them in the chat.
Yeah, they don't look cool, but there are 3 questions.
There are 3 questions. That's right. They don't have to look cool. That's they're next to me in this chat, so they look cool in comparison. That's fine, Zhenya. Don't worry about it.
And also, thank you for reminding. There are in the blog in the link that I have shared. So if you just click on that, you will see a slide with.
Yes.
Yeah, we won't get lost with it.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yes. So what we'll do is we're going to split up into breakout rooms. And you can kind of just talk for as long as you want to. Like, feel free to nip off whenever you want to nip off. If your room kind of finishes and you're like, no, I still want to chat to strangers online. If you just come back to the main room, it should be possible to like just put you into a different room. And I think there's, unless they've changed it in the last month, there's an option to send me a message and I can kind of come and sort that out. So if your room finishes, there's usually another room going on, unless your room is all like the most persevering one, in which case there's not much we can do. But yes, so if that happens to you, do let me know, because I did feel a little bit bad last time. As one room where like everyone was like, yeah, we finished, that's okay. And I wasn't sure if everyone in the room felt the same way. All right, so I'm going to open up these rooms. You should have these questions in the chat.
So just to clarify that, there's like no official ending.
Yeah.
So we can officially thank Zhenya and everyone for coming now, and then the conversation will continue in the breakout rooms.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, we won't come back here or anything, and we will.
Don't worry, I speak Tim.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool. All right. So shall I open up the rooms? Everyone happy? Yeah. Okay. Good.